In the early or mid 80s, I was taking my mother to Thanksgiving at my brother's house in Long Beach. And so I drove from West Hollywood to Pasadena to pick her up and then all the way to Long Beach. I was a very good son. I took care of her. So on the way there, we're listening to the radio. Comes this report about AIDS. And my mother, who's sitting there quiet, we're both listening to the radio, all of a sudden just perks up and says, "That's what they deserve." And it was like someone had stabbed me in the gut. And I was on the 710 freeway. I immediately pulled off the freeway and I didn't say anything until I got off the freeway and parked. And then I turned to her and mother, by this time, obviously she knew she had misspoken. She was very quiet. And I said, Mom, I said, is that what Roy deserves? Is that what Joe deserves? Is that what Gary deserves? And my mother was very quiet. And she said, I'm just repeating what the priest said. And when she said that, I realized she had been brainwashed just as I had by religion. Just as I had listened to those priests when I was young telling me that I was going to go to hell, so had my mother. And I had come to terms with it because I was gay. And I could see I wasn't a bad person. And I kept thinking, you mean I'm going to go to hell, the same hell that Hitler's going to go to? How does that make sense? I'm a good person. I'm taking my mother to Long Beach for Thanksgiving, and I'm going to go to hell? And at that point, I also realized, and I could tell her, I don't want to see you anymore. I could remove her from my life. But I also thought, if I hadn't been gay, maybe I would be saying the same thing she was. She had been brainwashed. I had been brainwashed, but I had come out of the cult. She was still part of the cult. I decided to unconditionally love her, even though she was bigoted. I was going to love her. And I did, because I did love my mother, and I knew my mother loved me. Eventually, she accepted me. In fact, she actually walked in a gay pride parade with me. She got to that point where it was not an issue, where she could see the errors of her thinking. She never said it to me, but I could see it in her actions. And that's what it's all about anyway. It's not about the words, it's about the actions. And so it worked out just fine. And I'm really glad that I was able to have my mother's love and give my mother love without having that horrible incident destroying it. I never had that talk with my father. I lived in a one-bedroom apartment with a queen-size bed. They knew that Gary lived with me. They had, when I was younger, knew Cecil, who had been part of in other words, I wasn't hiding anything. I just wasn't confronting them because I thought, why should I? Why should I have to tell you I'm gay when you've never told me you're straight? But then when my mother said that, I realized I really have to come out. I have to make that statement. And ever since then, I'm gay. It's cool.